All right, folks, summer edition of the world-famous Smith and Jones video blog. Dwayne Casey hired as the new head coach. I like the hire. It's something we talked about in the Hoop Show. I think he's the right guy to try and instill a defensive mentality in this team, particularly coming off of what he just helped the Dallas Mavericks accomplish in winning an NBA title.
Yeah, I think this is something that maybe we haven't seen in Toronto for quite some time, and that's not necessarily a knock on Jay Triano or even Sam Mitchell before that, who tried to implement more of a defensive style. I think this is something that's been missing from this team. It's something that this team needs, really any team needs going forward. I was on the radio earlier today, Jonesy, and probably not saying anything that you don't think or that many of you do as well, but you know, for all the talk, and I think was even asked about during the press conference about how you know, defense might not be sexy and defense doesn't necessarily win you jobs, let alone games. Well, I would thoroughly disagree with that question or that statement, only in the sense that I think defense can win you jobs, get you jobs, and definitely win you championships. And there might not be any better example or greater example than what happened this year with the Dallas Mavericks. They were perennially an offensive team, a team that was going out winning 50-plus games every year and blowing people off the floor in terms of their offense, but they couldn't necessarily stop anybody. Suddenly, the year that they start playing defense, the year that they put themselves in the mix to be one of the elite defensive teams, in addition to their offense, here they are winning series, going to conference finals, and ultimately winning the NBA championship.
Well, interesting. You say defense can't get you jobs. Tell that to Sean Marion. Tell that to Tyson Chandler. Tell that to Brendan Haywood. Those are the kinds of guys.
Tell that to Dwayne Casey and Tom Thibodeau and other coaches, not just the players.
Right. Those are the kinds of guys that you need, and I think those are the kinds of guys that Brian Colangelo will be looking for, even if he doesn't have them right now, but later on to develop into those kinds of players for Dwayne Casey's system. In the meantime, he talked about young, athletic guys that he can probably start to implement this system with. And Eric, I found it interesting that he gave a lot of credit to Jay Triano for what Jay Triano established here, and talking about the offense and how difficult Toronto was to play against offensively because they were so well developed in that sense. He's going to be, as he says, hands off with the offense, but real hands-on with the defense, and you can bet that if guys aren't doing their job, they're going to be sitting beside.
You know, it was interesting to see some of the other people that were in attendance at this press conference as well. You know, some of the current assistants whose contracts run out in less than a week and a half. Micah Norai was here, Eric Hughes was here, Scott Roth was in attendance as well. Now, Jonesy, I tweeted about this earlier. Nothing is official by any means yet. There hasn't been any kind of statement or release, but sources were telling me before that Roth turned down the Lakers assistant job. It was actually offered to him. You've heard in the last couple of days that his name was rumbled around as a possible assistant. Apparently he turned it down. It was offered. So would he have turned down a job with the Lakers if he didn't already have something else lined up? I'm led to believe that Roth will be on Dwayne Casey's staff. We'll see again if that ultimately comes to fruition, but it sounds like Roth could be on the staff. As for Norai, Hughes, Alex English, who knows at this point? And then there's also a little wrinkle thrown into the mix in that former Raptors assistant coach, an assistant coach with the Canadian national team, Jim Todd, who was actually here and in attendance as well, but it was more just a fluke, because he told us afterwards he's in town doing some work actually for a buddy of his who's starting up a new website, and he asked JT to actually do some interviews for this website that's going to be launched in September. So it was just a fluke. So don't be looking for, you know, signs in the tea leaves or anything. It doesn't look like Jim Todd will be on the staff here. Hey, maybe he will be.
Never know.
But he wasn't here because of that.
And I'll say this, Eric, just before we close, there are some close connections there. Dwayne Casey, being an assistant and being out around the NBA landscape, knows some of these guys. He talked about Scott Roth. He talked about Micah Norai, Eric Hughes. These guys were jockeys before, in that they know the horses that he's dealing with. And he talked about using Jay Triano as a resource. Well, hey, what better resource at times than to have some of the guys that know the players sitting on the bench with you. And that doesn't mean that he won't bring some of his own people in, but it's not a bad idea, and I can foresee it in the future where he uses some of the guys that were on the staff as holdovers on his staff.
One other thing as well, DeMar DeRozan in attendance, but also Sonny Weems snuck in a little bit later. Many of you probably didn't see that. Sonny was on the radio with me last week when I was doing some hosting on the Fan 590. He said he wants to be back in Toronto. He told me that again today, that he hopes to return here and wants to get cracking with the offseason and free agency, and he spent a good chunk of time with Dwayne Casey when the press conference was over. And I know for a fact that he told Casey as well, I want to be back and I want to be playing for you in Toronto.
Hey, young, athletic, the kind of guy Dwayne Casey can work with. He knows what it takes to do it with a veteran team, and where he has to go in taking this young team to becoming a championship team. I think Sonny Weems would be a great piece. But Eric, the other guys are coming in town too. James Johnson apparently is down about 10 to 15 pounds, got his body fat down. He'll be in for workouts this weekend, as would Jared Bayless. A lot of the guys are going to try and get together now, and it's good that they're going to do that with a new coach here.
Two other quick things, or maybe three actually, just some house cleaning in a sense. Draft related, we'll be talking a lot about the draft tomorrow, but more so on Thursday. We'll be doing a live chat on sportsnet.ca, connected with fan590.com as well, beginning at 7 o'clock on Thursday. So make sure you come on by. You can have a live interactive chat throughout the first round, probably right up until about 9:30, 9:45 with Jonesy and I, because then at 10 o'clock we'll be on Sportsnet Radio, the Fan 590 at 10 p.m. with a special 2-hour edition of Hoops, sort of a post-draft. I think the second round will probably still be going on, but a post-draft review. We're going to have a bunch of different members of the Raptors management team, coaching staff, players joining us from 10 p.m. till midnight. So again, the live chat from about 7 till 9:30, then the show from 10 p.m. till midnight, and one draft-related news. I don't even know if you heard this, Jones, because you were busy chatting with a bunch of people and doing work as well. I had a chance to talk to Dwane Casey briefly, and he said that his draft wish list, or whatever, his draft list right now has been cut down to 4 guys. Used to be 8, it's 4 now. And he specifically said 1 guard, 1 small forward, and 2 bigs. So we'll see if that changes before Thursday and how things play out with the top 4 picks before the Raptors come up with number 5.
That's until somebody wrecks the draft and drafts off the board and a guy falls into your lap. We'll be with you all day Thursday, folks. Stay with us.